This episode is brought to you by Warby Parker. Go to warbyparker.com/Murrell right now to take the home try-on quiz and stay tuned after the video for more info. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell and welcome to my review of Adolescence, which is a series that is available right now on Netflix. It's been out for about a week and it's one of those series that caught me by surprise. I really wanted to talk about it here on the channel. It is a British series created by Jack Thorne, who's also a co-writer on the upcoming Tron Ares, along with Stephen Graham, an actor who you probably recognize from movies like Snatch and The Irishman, who also co-stars in the series. And it's directed brilliantly by Philip Barantini and stands out as one of the most memorable shows that I've seen in quite some time. Adolescence actually reminds me a lot of Baby Reindeer, not in the style or the content of the show, but in the fact that it's a great example of how modern streaming media works. Because last week, all of Netflix's time and energy and attention was on their big $300 million movie, The Electric State. This show was kind of under the radar. It certainly didn't get that big promotional push from the massive Netflix marketing department that The Electric State did, and yet it has been pulling in, according to the numbers that I've seen, really good numbers, close to the same numbers that The Electric State did in its first few days, organically, because it's a really, really good show that people watched and then talked about and posted about on social media. Netflix is, of course, a massive company and can put resources behind one show or one movie, but in many ways it can be the streaming or entertainment version of a meritocracy, because when everything is equally available, sometimes quality will stand out over the big spectacle. Adolescence takes place over 4 very specific periods following the murder of a teenage girl, the day after it happened, 2 days after, several months later, and the next year. And I say specific periods because each episode takes place in real time and is done in one unbroken shot. I didn't know this going in, and my research after watching the show turned up that there is no trickery here. Each episode is an actual single take. No CGI, no stitching together different takes. And that kind of blew my mind because this is a very ambitious show. It's ambitious from a technical standpoint as far as how they use the camera, and it's ambitious from an acting standpoint. These are difficult performances to pull off. So the fact that they had the confidence and the ability to stake the entire show's success on being able to do a single 45 to 50 minute long take 4 different times for 4 different episodes, that's pretty impressive. And a massive amount of credit has to be given to series director of photography Matthew Lewis and his crew for being able to pull off camera movements that are so well done that I was convinced that this was a multi-take show. I just didn't even think that it was an option that it wasn't. Episode 1 opens with the arrest of 13-year-old Jamie on suspicion of murder and covers his initial processing and interrogation. And while the entire cast of the series is a standout, I have to take a minute here to recognize the performance of Owen Cooper, who's the young actor who plays Jamie. This is his first on-screen acting role ever. Not biggest, first. And it is an astonishing performance. I don't mean astonishing for a young actor or astonishing for somebody who's new to the business. I mean astonishing overall, and I think it is one of the best debut performances I've ever seen.
I haven't done anything. I just want to go home. I've not done anything.
Jamie only appears in 2 of the 4 episodes, but Cooper's performance hangs over every single one, and there's not a moment of shakiness, a moment of quote-unquote acting. It's all raw and real and often heartbreaking. And this is also not a role that requires an actor to play one note very well. Jamie is a character that shows a lot of different sides of himself over his appearance in these 4 episodes, and it reminded me a lot of when I watched Baby Reindeer again last year, and I saw Jessica Gunning's performance and thought, oh my gosh, this person is incredible. And I've never really seen them before anywhere. Now, the difference here is that Jessica Gunning was an actress who had a lot of experience, mainly because she was based in the UK. I just wasn't familiar with her past work, but I think it's safe to say still that that was on another level from what almost anyone had seen before. This is the case of an actor who has not been on the scene at all and just knocks it out of the park on his very first try. And if he decides to stick with acting, I could see him developing a career like a Nicholas Hoult or like a Timothy Chalamet, where we look back and we see his performance in this show as just the first in a string of really impressive performances. Series co-creator Stephen Graham is also exceptional as Jamie's father, Eddie, a working-class plumber who's just struggling to keep up with the police bashing his door in and calling his son a murderer. Jamie's family gets the spotlight in episode 4 as they deal with the aftermath of what's happened in the series, and it's heartbreaking to watch them try to find a new normal only to get set back again and again.
You don't do that to people. Do you understand? Yeah? You don't know what the f*** I've been going through. Don't laugh at me, boy. Don't laugh at me.
Christine Tremarco as Jamie's mother, Manda, turns what could have been a thankless role into a deeply human one as a parent who did her best to maintain a normal household, but now sees it all crumbling around her. But Stephen Graham is the one who gets the spotlight as he questions the things that he inherited from his own father, things that he could have done better, and just how he can now live his life when his son is sitting in jail accused of murder. And it really culminates in a gut-wrenching final episode that I think underscores what the series is really about, which is not the act that occurred, the inciting incident, but the effects of that, the devastation that follows. Adolescence is not a whodunit. The perpetrator is revealed by the end of the first episode, but I think as an audience, we've been trained to hunt for clues or expect a dramatic twist, but that's not what this show is. Among other things, I think it's about a handful of people who get swept up into a world that they're just not prepared for. The kids in the show are being exposed to things and worldviews that they don't understand, and the adults who are trying to manage the situation find themselves completely lost in a world that they thought they knew, but that they realize they don't. Episode 2 is a great example of this as the detectives in charge of the case talk to Jamie's classmates to help fill in the holes in their case, and they find out that they're just utterly lost. Ashley Walters and Faye Marseille play the two detectives who are stunned to find that they're being stonewalled at every turn. But it isn't until one of their kids takes them aside that they realize that not only are they asking the wrong questions, they don't even know what questions to ask. Generational differences have always existed between parents and kids, or even between people 10 or 15 years apart, but it seems like that gap is getting wider and it's accelerating. It's getting to be a bigger and bigger gap in a shorter and shorter amount of time. And middle-aged people like myself and the characters, many of them the adult characters in the show, are struggling to keep up. In many ways, we're strangers in a strange land. The third episode is, to me, the standout episode of the series. It's basically a two-hander between Jamie and a psychologist sent to interview him, who's played by Aaron Doherty. If episode 1 didn't convince you that Owen Cooper is a legitimate actor, this episode absolutely will. It is a brilliantly modulated performance as Jamie attempts to feel out the doctor's intentions, often violently swinging from one temperamental extreme to the other.
If you think about it, for very good reason.
Oh, for very good reason.
I want to understand you.
To understand my understanding of my understanding of my understanding.
Yes.
Up until this point in the series, I'd been asking myself, who is the real Jamie? Because you've seen so many different sides of him and aspects of his personality. And by the end of that episode, I realized that much like the detectives in the previous episode, I'd been asking the wrong question, because the show is really about this kid who doesn't know who he is at the core. He's trying to sort out so many different conflicting messages. And again, that gets to the point of the show. Aaron Doherty puts on a masterclass of her own as a character who's trained not to show emotion or pass judgment, and only allows that facade to break in very specific moments. In a great show, I think that this is one of the best TV episodes overall that I've ever seen. In lesser hands, if Adolescence had been focused more on the crime or more on the investigation or on a big showy trial, then this series could have felt like a Law and Order ripoff, one of those ripped from the headlines type things. You know, keep an eye on your kids, because if it happened to the ones on this show, it could happen to you too. The kind of hysteria porn that you often see in the true crime genre. And make no mistake, it does touch on actual things that are happening right now, specifically people that are online influencers, how they're targeting young people and specifically young men, the messages that they're sending about masculinity and what it means to be a man. These are things that have moved from the fringe into the zeitgeist, and they play a part in the show, but the show itself isn't trying to be mainly a cautionary tale, some kind of public service announcement for parents. It's not about the root cause of everything. It's not about the why. It's about the effect of what happens. Now, if the show does inspire some parents to maybe take a closer look at what their kids are consuming online or have a discussion with their kids, I think that's a great thing. But this is about the people. It's not about the cause. And every time I think the show leans a little bit too far into trying to make a "we live in a society" pronouncement, it pulls it back to the real focus of the show, which is these characters and the actors who are playing them. I think Adolescence is a fantastic show. I wish that I had been able to jump on board sooner, but that's just kind of how this works organically. Hopefully I can be part of spreading the word about this. The word's already starting to spread. If you're not hooked by the end of episode 1, then maybe this isn't the show for you. Maybe it doesn't cater to your interests. It is very talky. It's not exactly an action show, but I think that you should give it a shot. At a minimum, it contains what I think will be some of the best performances that we're going to see in a streaming show or a TV show this year. And I think it is one of the most technically impressive shows that I've seen in a very long time. But I also think that it's a lot more than that, and hopefully you will too. So on my personal scale, I'm giving Adolescence a see it now. It is streaming now on Netflix. It'll probably be among their most watched shows because it's already quite popular. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. And before I go, I want to thank the sponsor for this review, Warby Parker. I'm a man of culture. I enjoy a fine-looking pair of eyeglasses, but when I transitioned back to wearing them several years ago, it seemed like all the pairs I liked were either too expensive or didn't have the look I wanted. Warby Parker has changed all that, and I've been a happy customer of theirs for over 10 years. When you see my face on this channel, you see Warby Parker glasses, and that's the way I like it. They're comfortable, good quality, and perhaps most importantly, I can see out of them. Warby Parker uses premium materials in every frame, and it's super easy to shop for them. They have over 250 locations across the US and Canada, but they also offer a virtual try-on, which is how I bought my first pair. Glasses start at $95, which includes high-quality prescription lenses. I've never had one get scratched or had to replace one. And right now, you can save 15% when you buy 2 or more prescription pairs of glasses or sunglasses, either at home or in stores. All glasses come with free shipping and free 30-day returns. Get started with Warby Parker's virtual try-on. You can try on glasses and sunglasses, seeing the realistic color, texture, and size of each style right from home right now. Or head over to warbyparker.com/Murrell right now to take the home try-on quiz and pick 5 pairs of frames to try on at home for free. That's warbyparker.com/Murrell, warbyparker.com/Murrell. Thanks to Warby Parker for sponsoring this review, and thank you for watching. I'll be back very soon with more movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.